Welcome. We are here, and let me just quickly check how many people are watching right now. There are 69 people watching. So I'll start the recording, and then we are on our way. If you want to wait a couple of minutes, we can wait. It's purely up to you. जैसा आपको ठीक लगे. तो
Sure, no, that's fine. You want me to start, or you have a? I think you had somebody planned to speak.
No, I'm here, and no, there's no speak. All I want to do is that there are about 70 people, so I think we should start. We should not wait. So, and what I will do is that I'll put the YouTube link in front of me. So if there are any questions, then I can probably respond to them, because there are a lot of people asking questions and stuff like that. So, welcome everyone. We are very pleased to have Shri Lalit M. Kapoor join us from San Francisco. I am based in New York, and I've been a practicing vegan for last 20 years. I met Lalitji last year, and kind of research he has done and the kind of work he has done into helping people regain their health and get rid of their chronic diseases was beyond phenomenal. I'm a reader, as you can see from the library back there. I must have read and watched literally hundreds of video presentation and books, but Lalitji distills it in a very clear, succinct way for all of us to enjoy. There are 2-3 things that I'll mention ahead of time. Number one is that over 30,000 people have benefited from his wisdom. He will share his life story with you. The other thing is that every month, on the first of the month, he come up with a new program that lasts about 2 months, dispensing the education and knowledge that he has acquired, along with the experiences of people that we have witnessed. And it's on Facebook, it's on WhatsApp, it's on Telegram. I will make sure that each one of you who register will get a link to the January 1 session. I can talk about Lalitji for an hour, in what ways I have benefited, but that's not the intent here. The intent is that, and he says it very clearly, if you follow it, you will benefit from it. So without any further ado, Lalitji, please join us, and we are looking forward to hear from you.
Thank you, Rakesh. And welcome everyone. The topic for our discussion is reversing chronic diseases naturally. It all happened about 9 years ago on, is the video coming?
Video is coming, except that somehow it's just showing me as opposed to you, and I'm trying to get that work.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So on 1st of January 2013, I came across a documentary called Forks Over Knives, and I watched it. It kind of resonated with me, and I realized that the diseases I was facing at that time, I was on 6 different medications for diabetes, hypertension, and hypothyroid, gout, allergies, and I had started osteoarthritis and sleep apnea. So I started doing research, and it became clear to me that all chronic diseases are caused by diet and lifestyle. So if we change diet and lifestyle, the disease goes away. So we can move to the next slide. You can maybe fill the whole screen with the slide if you're not able to show me.
Okay, we can do both.
Yeah. So here is a slide which shows that these 2 people are busy mopping the floor while the sink is overflowing. And somehow the modern medicine has become like that. We are so preoccupied with suppressing the symptoms, that we don't pay attention to what is causing those symptoms. And that's what this whole talk is all about. If you would simply turn off the tap, your problem goes away. And so first we need to understand what is causing the problem, and then just eliminate the cause, as opposed to suppressing the symptoms. Because you suppress the symptoms, they come up again. We'll go to the next slide. Yeah, next slide after that. Okay.
Just a disclaimer, Lalitji, I put there for everyone.
All right. Yeah, let's move to the next one. So, so why not turn off the faucet? And what has happened is, about 100 years ago, till about 100 years ago, we all used to be concerned about infectious diseases, cholera, typhoid, polio. And then the antibiotics came, and vaccinations came. And for many of our infectious diseases, the antibiotics worked very well. And somehow we developed a frame of mind that if you are ill, just take a pill. You should be fine within 1 week or 2 weeks at the most. So it doesn't work that. Once we start getting diseases like hypertension and arthritis, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, the pill did not work. So doctors started telling us that, well, these are chronic diseases and you have to live with them throughout your life. So I think the slide has gone now. Huh?
I'm bringing it back, Lalitji.
All right.
With my system.
So another thing that we need to understand is that the knowledge we have today is only partial knowledge, because as science evolves, we gain more and more knowledge. The table of elements, when it was created by a Russian chemist, Dmitry, over 150 years ago, only had 28 elements in it. When I was in junior high school, the table of elements had about 100 elements. And today we know 118 elements. So it's not that these 18 elements that we know today did not exist 50 years ago. They still existed. They were still affecting the world, but we just didn't know about them. So who knows how many elements we'll know 100 years from now, our great-grandchildren. They may be studying a table of elements which has 150 elements. So there are a lot of things which we do not know. I call them not yet knowns or nigh knowns. They're affecting us. We just don't know about them. So what happens as new inventions are done and new discoveries are done, there are two types of people. Some respond to them by saying, aha, finally I know everything. Till yesterday I didn't know everything, but now today I know everything. There's another set of people, wiser people. To them it is just a reminder that what they know today is only a minuscule of what is out there to be known. So we are all playing with a partial deck of cards, and to infer conclusions based on that partial knowledge and disregard thousands of years of evolutionary process is flawed thinking. The proof is in the pudding. When you when you are following the lifestyle you evolved with, or at least a diet and an active lifestyle, it has been shown again and again. I have shown it, and there are others who have shown it. If you watch that documentary, that's what it's all about. That when you correct your diet and eat food as it was intended, you get cured. I have over thousands of people. I have even stopped tracking them. The numbers are so large who have gotten off diabetic medications, hypertension medications. It took me 18 months to get off these medications. But it took me 18 months because I wasn't totally sure and I was following them not 100%. But the members who join now, they're getting off medications in 2 weeks. We have people get off diabetic medications in 2 weeks, hypertension medications in 2 weeks. So the proof is in the pudding. Now, one observation that you would make is that we evolved over millions of years. And at that time, we lived a life without medications. Yes, we were concerned about wild animals hurting us, but we ate food which grew naturally. And when we were sick, maybe we stopped eating. And you make the same observation when you look at wild animals today. Even they're living in the wild, and they don't need to go to any doctors or hospitals or take any medications. But you bring these animals home, and your pet animals, your dogs and cats, were living with you and eating food from cardboard boxes. They do fall ill. They do need to see a vet, and they do need to take medications at times. So one kind of a common observation out of this is that if we could somehow start eating the way we ate, and that's how this whole hypothesis has evolved. There are several giants in the field of plant-based whole food movement. They are there in that documentary. They're Dr. Colin Campbell, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, Dr. Dean Ornish. There are several. I have about 10 teachers that I studied thoroughly, and they all say the same thing, that when your diet is right, you will not have any diseases. So that's what we're going to discuss today. What is that diet that we need to take and cure our health? Let's move to the next slide. I think the video is still not working.
No, it's working, Lalitji. I can see. I'm also running the YouTube on my iPhone, so I can see you.
Right. Okay. So one observation is that we have developed many myths about nutrition and health. I'll just discuss a few of these, and then we'll move on to diet. One myth that we have is that eat everything in moderation. When you eat everything in moderation, you get disease in moderation. And when you get disease in moderation, by the time we are 50, 55, 60 years old, we start suffering from these diseases, and we simply say that these are diseases of old age. They should be expected. One should expect some arthritic pain. One should expect some increased blood pressure. some asthma problems. It's a flawed thinking. People in many parts of the world, some called blue zones, have shown that they live healthy life till they die. Even the last year of their life is very healthy. They are productive, and when body is ready to give up one fine morning or during the sleep, they leave this world. But till the day they leave this world, they were living a productive life. And that's what the reality is. That's what the truth is. So to think that we need to suffer from old age diseases is flawed. People in these areas known as blue zones live to be 100. They are productive. They're working in their farms or backyards. And that's what life should be. Another myth that we have is that we need a lot of protein. And that's a myth that has been propagated over the last 100, 150 years ago when protein was discovered. And, animal food is very rich in protein. Vegetarian food is not that rich in protein. But the reality is we only need 5 to 6% of our total calories coming from protein. You all may know a project called Genome Project, which started 25 years ago, and it mapped all our genes. Few years later, another project was funded by National Institute of Health in US to study the protein makeup of human being, project called proteomics. And the proteomics project showed us that there are more than 2 million proteins in human body. And human body really needs only 5 to 6% protein. When a mother nurses her newborn child, mother's milk has only 5 to 6% protein. That is all that a child needs, and this is at a stage in life when he is growing the fastest. A newborn child would double his weight in 3 months. And at that time, the nature provided only 5 to 6% protein for that child. Now, why should that child need any more than 5 to 6% later in his life when his growth rate is much slower? It makes no sense. US government had established in 1947 that the minimum protein requirement for human beings is 5 to 6%. But the myth was so prevalent at that time that they said to be safe, we recommend you consume about 8 to 10% of your daily calories. Somehow over the years, with misinformation, that 8 to 10% got converted into minimum requirement, which is totally incorrect. And when you Google and you look for protein, you will see a lot of websites showing, even Harvard Medical Review website showing that the minimum recommendation is 8 to 10, but one should consume 20%. There are some sites going as far as saying the 1/3 of your meal should come from protein. It's totally wrong, because your body only needs 5 to 6% protein. If you consume more than what it needs, body has no way to store protein. Body has way to store fat, unlimited amount. body has a way to store some sugar up to about 2,000 calories in your liver and muscles, but there is no provision to store protein. So when you eat extra protein, it immediately gets converted into fat by removing nitrogen from this protein. That nitrogen with hydrogen becomes NH3, which is ammonia. Ammonia is very toxic to our body. So the body has to get rid of this ammonia. It combines ammonia with water and makes uric acid. That uric acid is removed from our body as urine. So our liver has to work extra hard every day, and our kidneys have to work very hard. And this is the leading cause of liver and kidney diseases in old age. So many people today have to go through dialysis by the time they are 60, 65, 70-year-old. And the reason is that they have consumed excessive amounts of protein throughout their life. So overloaded the kidneys. The second problem is that they also have consumed a lot of medications in their life, which again overload your kidney because they need to get processed and removed from your system via your liver and kidney. So protein myth is something we need to be very, very concerned about. And our goal should be to reduce protein consumption and not increase it. It is so widely available in all plant foods that it's difficult to find foods which are low in protein. And I'll discuss later that there are periods when we need to fast, as in Navratri or Ekadashi fasting, where the goal is to consume less protein. A Nobel Prize was given in 2016, which showed that if we consume less protein, our body recycles protein from our damaged cells, dead cells, and it detoxifies the body. So similarly, the other myths, I will not dwell on them much. One myth is that you need dairy to get calcium, which is totally incorrect, because dairy actually bleaches your body. Dairy causes acidosis. And then to neutralize that acidity, your body pulls the calcium out of your bones. Your bones act as a stabilizer of calcium in your body. There's another myth that if you are exercising a lot, you're going to gym and working out for 2 hours every day, you don't need to worry about getting diseases. It's totally flawed. Half the people who get heart attack and die are people who otherwise were perfectly normal. They were in their 30s and 40s going to gym, and they were not overweight. Their cholesterol was in check, but they die of heart attack. Okay. Another myth is better safe than sorry. So the people think that by taking a tiny pill, I am being safe. And the modern research is showing that no, that tiny pill that you're taking causes you more harm. You would be perfectly fine even if your BP was slightly higher or blood sugar was slightly higher. So slightly higher symptoms cause less harm than lower markers achieved by heavier medication. So these are some of the myths we live with, and we need to dispel them. Let's move on to the next slide. So what we are going to discuss is that there are 5 things which are important for good health. Food is most important. Detoxification of our body is very important. So food and detoxification together account for about 75% of your health. Then physical activity is important. Emotional support is very important. It's important that you give unconditional love. And that unconditional love, the process of giving unconditional love creates certain hormones in your body which help you heal. Similarly, spiritual health is very important. When we show a sense of gratitude or we pray with a sense of gratitude, again, our body releases hormones which have a cleansing effect on our body. So I say that it's important that you pray. Who you pray to is really irrelevant. Any God of your choosing or any person in your life, your teacher, your grandfather, your coach, the person that you have a sense of gratitude, think of him and show your appreciation. So what we're talking now when we say plant-based whole food, what do we mean by whole food? So here's a slide that gives you an example for corn. When you eat corn on the cob, as we call bhutta, that is eating whole food in closest to the natural form. If you take out some frozen corn and make corn soup, that is also quite healthy. Yes, it has gone through one process of removing the corn kernels and packaging them, but they have been kept frozen, so they are still very safe to eat and very healthy. Then you have cornmeal, which has been slightly processed. We have done those processes for thousands of years. And yes, it is slightly less healthy than corn on the cob, but nevertheless, healthy food. You can make tortillas or roti out of corn flour, and that is also a fairly healthy food. You go down, corn starch is a little less healthy than corn on the cob or cornmeal, but it's still okay, acceptable. And even popcorn, if you're making it at home, not at movie halls where they add some synthetic chemicals and butter-like products, if you're making popcorn at home, it is acceptable. But if you go to the other side of the slide and you look at cornflakes has a lot more things that have been added and a lot more processes that corn has gone through, and they're not healthy. Even worse than cornflakes is corn oil, where the fiber has been removed and you're only getting the fat out of corn, and it's very unhealthy. And the most unhealthy is high fructose corn syrup, where corn has been processed to make sugar out of it. And high fructose corn syrup gets added into all sweetened beverages today. In fact, 80% of the food on grocery store shelves which have any added sugar, they add high fructose corn syrup as opposed to sugar as we have known before that. So here is a typical Indian vegetarian meal plan. You know, a lot of Indians are vegetarian. And even a lot of people who have become vegan, which is a vegetarian person who avoids milk and dairy products. The research has shown that vegetarian people die at the same rate as non-vegetarian people. And even vegan people do not have any higher life expectancy than a non-vegetarian person or even a vegetarian person. This comes as a surprise to most people because they think that by being vegetarian, they are eating healthy, or by being vegan, they're eating healthy. The thing is, if you are drinking Coca-Cola and eating potato chips, you are a vegan. But that doesn't mean that you are eating healthy. As we move from non-vegetarian to vegetarian, we start consuming more calories from dairy and more calories from oil and sugar. As we go from being a vegetarian to a vegan, yes, we drop the dairy, but our consumption of sugar and oil increases. So as a result, the mortality data shows that non-vegetarians, vegetarians, and vegans have similar life expectancy. I know this will surprise many of you, but that's the fact. So here, when you're looking at a typical Indian vegetarian meal plan, we get up in the morning, have a cup of tea with some rusk or biscuits. The tea is with milk and sugar. We have breakfast, some aloo paratha or poha, upma, idli, but we finish it with some lassi or lemonade or tea or coffee. We have a lunch, dal, sabji, raita, which is a dairy product, rice, and some mithai. So we are getting sugar, dairy, and oil in all our meals. Evening snack, you may have a samosa with tea, or in summer, some ruh afza sharbat or mango milkshake. 8 o'clock, those people who like to have some alcohol in the evening, they'll have some namkeen, haldiram namkeen with their drinks, or fried cashews, or some matti. And then they eat dinner. In India, we eat dinner very late, between 9 and 10 o'clock. And then we go out, we delay that to 11 o'clock. Even midnight restaurants are open. And dinner, again, you have some raita coming into it, and some dairy comes in, some preparations. All vegetables are only cooked with oil or ghee. So when you look at this daily meal plan of a vegetarian, you're consuming ghee or oil about 2 to 6 tablespoons. You're consuming sugar from 10 to 30 tablespoons. So calories from these two items alone are about 20 to 50% of your daily caloric intake. Calories from dairy are another 10 to 20%. So when you add these together, you realize that 1/3 to 2/3 of your calories are coming from these three food items. And these are empty calories. Sugar and oil are totally empty calories. Dairy has a problem. It causes many issues. And if you watch that documentary, Fork Over Knives, it has been shown that protein in dairy called casein promotes cancer. We all have cancer cells floating around in our body. In today's world, we can't escape it. But these floating dormant cancer cells don't cause cancer. When they are subjected to a suitable environment of high animal protein, they cause promotion of the cancer. And that protein is casein in milk, in cheese, in yogurt. And that's the problem. So what if we took this? So 1/3 is for those who are very conscientious people. They don't drink Coke or 7-Up. They don't put too much oil in their sabji. And 2/3 is for those people who are not so conscientious. There are people who are consuming 80% of their calories from these three items. So what if you took these three items out of your diet and replaced them with fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, your life will change. Your body just loves it. Okay. So one of the things that I talk about is that you got to start consuming large quantities of green leafy vegetables as raw. So let's move to the next slide. Okay, so one of the things I recommend strongly is that you try to eat your water as much as possible, with the exception of 2 glasses of water first thing in the morning, and possibly a glass of water after dinner, because you are not supposed to eat anything in the morning till about 2 hours after you get up, and in the evening after dinner. So we'll discuss it briefly. But at that time, after dinner till next morning breakfast, you cannot consume fruits, so you drink water. But rest of the day, try to consume your water by eating fruits. Cucumbers are 98% water. So have a cucumber, have lettuce, have strawberries, grapefruits, watermelon, celery, 95% water. So that's the one change you will make, that you would start eating a lot more your water than drinking it. The second change, let's move to the next slide. Second change I recommend is that you start making green juice. Whatever you see in this photograph is like my typical juice recipe. So you see a lot of leafy green vegetables, you see celery with some celery leaves, you see lettuce, you see lauki, bottle gourd, cucumber, lemons. I have not shown all the lemons for this picture, but we put a lot more. There's some raw haldi is there, turmeric. There's beetroots there, green juicing apples, and carrots. So these are the things which are going to replace in your diet the oil that you were taking, the butter you were taking, the cheese you were eating, or yogurt. So this is what we are talking about. It's just very simple. Once you replace those refined and processed foods and animal foods also, I mean, eggs and dairy and whatever non-vegetarian you are eating, you replace them with these foods, your body begins to heal within 24 hours. You will not believe me, but people see change in 3 days, noticeable change. People around them see a change in them within 1 week. Within 1 to 2 weeks, your family members start telling you that you look more radiant. You feel more energetic. When you do this for a month or two, you suddenly realize that you don't get tired anymore. And just imagine if that happens in 2 months, what happens in 2 years? You will find that if you were unable to walk more than 3-4 miles without feeling tired the next morning, you will reach a stage, and this is late in life, and you're in 60s or 65. It happened to me. I started this at the age of 63. And the longest I could walk was about 4 miles, which I did on Saturday and Sunday. And when I did 4 miles or an occasional 5-mile trip, I could feel the pain the next day. And after going on this program, I can keep walking without feeling tired. At the age of 69, I did my half marathon, 13.1 miles, without feeling tired the next morning, without having any muscle pain. That's what I'm talking about. Most of us, when we go on long trips, we drive for about 4 or 5 hours. We feel tired. We want to have a cup of coffee or tea. And especially those of us who live in America always say, gee, I wish it was India. I could have stopped at any dhaba and taken my cup of tea or coffee and maybe a samosa. And this happens to all of us. But the thing is, if you go on this diet, within a year, you will realize that you can go on a 12-hour drive without feeling tired. Your passengers sitting with you may feel tired, but you won't feel tired. So I recommend that you all get a juicer and start making juice. You don't have to make it every day, because you can make it for 3-4 days and put it in the refrigerator. Or you can even make it once a week. Order some juicing bottles, half a liter bottle. You make juice, some 14 bottles, and you can freeze 12 of them and just take out the previous night, take 2 bottles and use them the next day. So this is the one habit which will make a tremendous change in your life. Now I want to talk to you about a concept called circadian rhythm. We all have been familiar with what we call biological clock. There's a biological clock inside our body. But this clock works on a circadian rhythm, and a Nobel Prize was given in 2017 to 3 doctors who demonstrated how this circadian rhythm works. They figured out that every cell in our body has a clock. There's a gene, they named it period. The period gene makes a protein called PER, P-E-R. PER is the initial 3 letters of period. And throughout the night, it makes protein called PER, which goes outside the nucleus of the cell. And in the daytime, after the sun rises, our body gives a signal. Our eyes have proteins, 5,000 cells in each retina called melanopsin cells. Melanopsin proteins, they are in our nerve cells, which are directly connected to our hypothalamus. And our master clock is inside our hypothalamus. So when we look outside at the blue sky or a rising sun, that blue light falls on our retina. Retina gives a signal to hypothalamus that morning has happened. And in the evening, as the sun sets, we get a signal that the day has ended. And these circadian rhythms control the release of hormones in our body. In the morning, body releases cortisol hormone, which is get up and go hormone, which makes you get up and want to do things. In the nighttime, the body reduces the cortisol hormone and releases a melatonin hormone, which calms you down and makes you want to go to sleep. In today's world, with the invention of electricity 150 years ago, our lifestyle has changed tremendously. Now, the natural circadian rhythm depends upon not only the light, which light is the most important factor. The other factors are food that we consume. If you're consuming food late at night, the body gets conflicting signals. It says, gee, it got dark outside, so I thought it's nighttime. I started releasing melatonin, but this body is getting fresh food, so it's probably not nighttime. Maybe there were clouds outside, and I should stop releasing melatonin because it's still food is coming into my body. Now the body expects flow of food to stop after sunset. As we were evolving for millions of years, we did not eat after sunset. We finished. Even 150 years ago, our great-grandmothers and their mothers, they would finish their kitchen work before it got dark. Nobody wanted to just have too many candles running throughout the house and kitchen. You can't see very clearly, so it's very difficult to clean the kitchen. So we evolved finishing our dinner before it got dark outside, about the time of sunset. So this clock of 12 hours of daylight, and the food was not easily available millions of years ago. When we got up, if we didn't have refrigerator or a kitchen pantry just to go to, the ladies and children went looking for fruits, which was probably half an hour to an hour after sunrise. And men went looking for some hunt or to gather some possibly leftover meat from hunt by some animals. And we weren't so strong. We didn't have the tools initially to go and kill a deer or a goat, maybe a chicken or a rabbit. But so the analysis of our poop has shown, we call it paleo poop, that there was only 5% animal food in our diet millions of years ago. So there's a Dr. Sachin Panda at California, University of California, San Diego, who is doing a lot of research. And I recommend you all, if you have time, to watch his videotapes. I provide links to them during my 2-month course. I want to briefly talk about the 2 Nobel Prizes that were given on the subject of fasting. Fasting is close to our heart, is part of our cultural heritage. So 2016 Nobel Prize was given to Dr. Yoshinori, who explained the concept of autophagy. And he showed that when our body does not get protein for 24 hours or longer, it realizes that there's a shortage of food. And we have evolved over millions of years facing such shortages of food. The feast and famine was part of our normal life. So when we moved through areas where there were plenty of fruit trees and root vegetables, we feasted. And then when the dry periods came or winters came and food was not available, we fasted and had very little food. So when body does not get enough protein, body is very smart. It recycles the protein which is not in use, protein in dead cells, damaged cells, cells which have stopped growing. We call them senescent cells. They're not technically dead, but they have stopped duplicating anymore. So body goes, and this thing can be seen under microscope, that every cell has a trash can inside it. And during normal course of life, it keeps extra spent, wasted protein into this trash can. And when we do not get food for 24 hours, we do not get protein for 24 hours. It begins to recycle. It goes to that trash can, removes that protein, converts it into amino acids, and puts it back into the blood. So your blood gets a new supply of amino acids, which is distributed throughout the body. And then our body genes make new protein. We recycle about 85% of our protein that we waste every day. And then during fasting, we recycle even more. So that was Dr. Yoshinori's work. In 2018, a Nobel Prize was given to Dr. Honzo, who talked about extended fast, not a 24 or 48-hour fast. His focus was fast when we don't have food for extended periods of time, or we have very little food, as must have happened during winter months in some of the parts of the world. India was very fortunate. 80% of India is warm climate, and we had 3 crops. But you look at other parts of the world, or mountain parts, or Western world, Europe, Native Americans living in US and other parts of the world, during winter, they did not get enough food. So his research has shown that when we do not get food for a period like 10 days, our body becomes resistant to diseases. Our cells strengthen, and they stop focusing on reproduction and conserve their energy on protecting the life of the cell. And this is called immunotherapy. It is used to treat cancer patients. In cancer patients, when you are putting them through radiation or chemotherapy, you not only kill the cancer cells, you also kill some of the healthy cells surrounding these cancer cells. So by putting people through a dietary program where you do not give them enough protein for 10 days, and this is where Navratri type fasting comes into the place, absolutely identical. In Navratri fasting, you're supposed to eat only one meal of under 500 calories, low protein meal for 9 days. And it has the same goal, same effect. Your body cells become hardened, and you are successful in killing the unhealthy and cancer cells. Okay, so now I'll move to in summary, what my recommendation is. There are only 8 points. I used to cover them as 12 or 14 point, and I have combined them. I thought that people tend to forget things. So first point is no animal food, no dairy, no eggs, no seafood. Second is no refined or highly processed food, so which means no sugar and no oil. You can have sugar cane, you can have peanuts, but not peanut oil. You can have mustard seeds. You can cook with them. You can have cashew butter or almond butter or peanut butter. Butter is whole food. Oil is not whole food. If you process butter and remove all the fiber from it, that becomes oil. Okay. Third is that you eat fruits and vegetables and herbs and spices. And one way to consume lots of vegetables is by green juicing. It's not necessary that you do green juice. If you can sit for an hour and consume those carrots and chew them, the idea is to provide hypernutrition. You have been deprived of nutrients for whatever 30, 40, 50 years of your life. So if initially you will have 3 glasses of juice, 1 glass before every meal, you will see wonderful results. And once you're off all your medications, you can reduce juice to 2 glasses a day. And then after 6 months or 1 year, you can just have 1 glass in the morning. Okay. So that's the third guideline. Fourth is the 3 things we need to watch out, because we are not getting enough of that. One is omega-3, because we don't eat fruits, these seeds. flaxseed, hemp seed, chia seeds, or walnuts. Somehow in our diet in India and among Indians, nuts have taken lower priority. Well, they were expensive, but the seeds were not expensive. Flaxseed is one of the cheapest food available. Gandhiji used to eat a lot. It's called alsi in Hindi. And he used to say that the day world will start eating alsi, the health would improve of the world. So we have known about it. So omega-3 we do not get easily. So please make flaxseed part of your diet, 1 tablespoon minimum, and maybe 5 walnuts. Vitamin B12 used to come from natural underground water or river water. Now we don't get water from rivers or underground, and we get it from municipal supply. And municipal water is chlorinated, so they kill all the vitamin B12. And as a result, people who are eating plant-based food are likely to become B12 deficient. And a lot of people are finding that by the time they are 50, 55 years old, they are vitamin B12 deficient. So I recommend you take a supplement. Take once a week, 2,000 microgram vitamin B12 supplement, or 100 microgram daily. And the third key nutrient to be concerned about is vitamin D3, which we get from sunlight. But as we have now started living indoor lifestyle, working in our offices indoor, our body does not get exposed to sunlight, and there's a deficiency of vitamin D3. People don't realize, but I think about 80% of the people over the age of 50 are vitamin D3 deficient. You can take D3 supplement, but I recommend that you get some sunshine. It is much better than taking D3 supplement. D3 supplements are controversial. So it's best if you can get sunshine. And it doesn't matter if during rainy days or winter you cannot get it. It is a fat-soluble vitamin, so it remains in your body. So even if you can get enough sunshine during 6 summer months, it'll carry you through the winter. So these 3 things need a special mention. 5th is detoxification, which is the second pillar of health. So do your water fasting. I recommend a fast every 2 weeks, which in India we have known to do forever. It's called Ekadashi fast. You, after your dinner on the next day, don't eat anything, only water. And then the day after next, just have your normal breakfast. So it becomes a 36-hour fast. And then once a year at least, preferably twice a year, as the 2018 Nobel Prize winner Dr. Honzo recommends, you do a Navratri fast for 9 days. And those 9 days have a single meal of 500 calories during sunset time or just before sunset. And make sure that meal is very light in protein. So those of you who you have spent your life looking for protein, you need to change gear and you need to go to Google and look for foods which are low in protein. And surprisingly, you will find that it's very hard to find foods which are low in protein. Even watermelon has 8% protein, rice has 7% protein. Even spinach has 30% protein. Romaine lettuce has 19% protein. But there's one food which has practically 0 protein. It is called sabudana, tapioca. Now, how did our ancestors know 10,000 years ago? Because that's what they recommend you eat when you're fasting. Whether you're fasting for Janmashtami or Mahashivratri or Navratri. During Navratri, you should only be eating sabudana, khichdi, or sabudana. You can have singhara. Singhara is really a fruit. So you can have singhare ka atta, that has about 4% protein. You can have potatoes, that's about 5 to 6% protein. Potatoes have same amount of protein as mother's milk. You can have apple. Apple has only 1.7% protein. So you have to look, you'll have to do research. I have a videotape on YouTube by the title Navratri Fast. We did a group Navratri fast of 1,700 people 2 months ago. So that's what is important. That's number 5. Number 6 is please synchronize your circadian rhythm. You may be off sync, especially in India when you're eating dinner late. All Indians are out of sync. And then we get up in the morning and we consume a cup of tea at 6:30 or 7 o'clock. One should not have food for a couple of hours after getting up. And after sunset, we should not have food, any food. So we need to synchronize. Other things important are stop watching a TV screen or computer screen or cell phone screen. After 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, at least an hour or two before you go to bed, because these screens emit blue light and it offsets your circadian rhythm. Be physically active and do 10,000 steps. It's a good marker. 10,000 steps comes to about 5 minutes of walking every hour. So if you're awake for 16, 17 hours, you walk 5 minutes every hour, they'll come to about 10,000 steps. You don't have to necessarily go out to gym and exercise. It can become part of your routine. If you go vegetable shopping, or you go to temple in the morning, or you go with friends morning walk, just make your routine in such a way and get some kind of a step measuring device, a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or something like that, and keep track of it. And then the last is that please focus on your emotional balance. Surround yourself with people to whom you can give unconditional love. If you don't have people and children around you, have a pet. A dog makes an excellent pet. And then have some prayers of gratitude every day. And as I said, pray. But praying is important, but who you pray to is not that critical. So this is all that you need to remember. And if you just remember these 8 items, you will not only cure your diseases, you will not get it. You will stop going and seeing a doctor. After 2 years, you'll say, what am I doing? I'm fine. The thing is, gives you control back to you, rather than worrying about your symptoms and worrying, I don't know what has happened to me, and I can't sleep, and I get up in the middle of the night. All these kind of problems will go away. So here are some couple of testimonials I want to share. Vipin Asija, he's from IIT Kharagpur, 1979, joined my group in August of 2020. Within 3 months, and he was only 90% compliant. He wasn't doing Ekadashi fasting. He lost 9 kilograms. His BP came down to 110/70. He stopped his blood pressure medication, beta blockers. His fasting blood glucose went to 100 to 125 range. His A1C came down to 6. He stopped his metformin and all blood pressure, diabetic medication. His total cholesterol went down to 119. He stopped taking statin medications. So I have over 1,000 such testimonials. Okay. The second one is Mukund. He had a problem in his knees. Arthritic pain had set in, and he said the pain went away within 3 months, and he had never heard of what is flaxseed or quinoa or steel cut oat or chia seed. So you learn some new foods and you make them part of your routine. We'll go to the next slide. So how are we doing on time? Okay, it's 8:37. I think we are running short on time, but I will go through. We have covered what needs to be done. Um, I spent a little time talking about how a nexus of certain industries gets created unintentionally. The food industry wants to make food which has longer shelf life, so their spoilage is less. So they remove fiber from the food. They remove fiber from their wheat flour. They make biscuits and cookies out of maida. They remove fiber from fat, and they convert fat into oil. So those actions mess up our health. When our health gets messed up, we go see a doctor. The doctor is the healthcare industry. In America, it's controlled by American Medical Association. So doctors benefit from our illness. It's not that they connive to do that. It's just the way life is. You have freedom to live and choose your life. And if you choose your life eating biscuits and sugar and donuts and Kentucky Fried Chicken, you develop diseases, and those you go see the doctors. They benefit from your diseases, and they have been trained not in nutrition, so they don't know why you're getting these diseases. They have not studied. These are bright people. They're very, the doctors, some of the brightest people go to medicine. In America, brightest people go to medicine and engineering, but in America, the brightest go to medicine. And these are conscientious people. If they knew about nutrition, they will be telling you what I'm telling you. But their course, 4-year college course, does not teach them anything about nutrition. So third is the pharmaceutical industry. The doctors have been taught medicine, and it got started about 100 years ago when they formalized the medical education. So doctors are taught medicine, so they prescribe medicine. They can only prescribe what they know. Doctors are not taught, good health. You never say that my son is studying good health. Everybody says my daughter is studying medicine, or my son is studying medicine. So if they're studying medicine, that's what they'll preach. They'll preach after they graduate. So it's not their fault. But it so happened that food industry made us sick. They made food which was addictive. So they hired PhDs in psychology. They made us sick. The healthcare industry prescribed medication because that's they were taught to do, and pharmaceutical industry benefited. The government officials, the bureaucrats, go along with the industry. They're looking for a job after they retire. So they are lenient with the food and pharma industry. That's where they expect a consulting career after the age of 60 or 65. And media is where these industries advertise. So media gets all their income from food industry, from pharmaceutical industry is the biggest payer. If you're watching network news at 6 o'clock in the evening in America, you'll find that all the ads are being placed there are by pharmaceutical industry. It's the most expensive time slot for advertisements. So the nexus has gotten created, and we need to break this mold and get out of it. And that is what I'm talking about. So I devote normally 1 week to this subject. We'll skip this slide. The next slide, Rakesh, we can skip. Go to the next slide, then we'll skip that. Okay, so we can skip. I have talked about it. Let's skip this slide. Okay, so industry funding is important. Previous slide. today, industry is funding 90, one more, go back. One more, go back one more. Yeah, okay. So today industry is funding 92% of all research. And somehow when you are a researcher, a postgraduate researcher working at MIT or Berkeley or Stanford, and you know that your research funding, which is annualized funding, is dependent upon this food manufacturer extending it by another year, interestingly, your conclusions you draw become very lenient, and you rephrase them. So there's a classic example. U.S. government had issued a guideline. George McGovern had issued a guideline back in 1971, which recommended that we should reduce animal food consumption and sugar consumption. And everybody got so upset that Senator Dole recommended that why don't we change the language and we say we must encourage the consumption of lean meats. Now, encouraging the consumption of lean meats is not the same thing as telling people to reduce the consumption of meat. So how a conclusion can be distorted is just a beautiful example. I normally show that video, but in longer talks. So that's the problem we are facing. The most studies are now funded by industry. Let's go to the next slide. I want to tell you here, there was a study done, is known as Keys study, whose photograph you are seeing here. Ansel Keys. He did a study about 50 years ago, which showed a chart of 7 countries. It became known as the 7 countries study. And he showed that in countries where we consume more dietary fat, we have more heart attack. And this led to the whole movement of low-fat products, low-fat milk, low-fat cheese, low-fat cereal. All these low-fat movements started. And when Ansel Keys died about 15, 20 years ago, they found his research papers and documents at his Beverly Hills home. And they found that the actual study was a 22 countries study. And out of that 22 countries, no conclusion could have been drawn. The data was all over. So he conveniently removed 15 countries to make his point. And his point is flawed because the problem is not with fat. The problem is with refined fat. If you're going to eat cashews, it's not going to cause a problem. If you're going to eat peanuts, they're not going to cause a problem. You're going to eat peanut oil, that will cause a problem. So fats in natural foods are very healthy. You can eat as much as you feel like. Of course, you will get satiated. There's a fruit we get here called avocado, and they're coming in India also, which is 80% fat, and it's very healthy. So eat avocados. Eat chickpeas. Chickpeas are very rich in fat. We make hummus out of it. So we made a blunder. And then when they found out that he had lied, in 2012 or 13, they printed another Time magazine. Next slide, please. They printed this, now the fat is back. The fat is, after they found Ansel Keys' old paper, they said he had lied to all of us. And America misled a life of 40 years eating low-fat food. And even this Time cover is misleading. So it's not that the butter is good. It is that the avocado is good. The chickpeas are good. Okay, the fat in the natural form is good. But they distorted it. And this Time cover sold. They sell what is known as reprints, and dairy industry. How much money they spend spreading this, I have no idea. But they love this reprint, and they went back to doctors and told them, "See, even the Time is saying so." So anyway, there's a lot of politics involved. We'll move on to the next slide. Okay, let's skip this testimonial. There's again 2 more testimonials, people curing their diseases. Just a few minutes on chronic diseases. Let's move on. These are leading causes of death: heart disease, cancer, asthma, COPD, stroke, and Alzheimer's, diabetes, influenza and pneumonia, kidney diseases, liver diseases, hypertension. Of these, 9 diseases are chronic diseases. Only influenza and pneumonia can be called as infectious disease. And even there, if you have good immunity that you develop, you will not catch those. So our society's leading causes of death are chronic diseases. Let's move to next slide, please. Next slide.
There is a roughly 30-second lag between the time I move the slide and you see it on Zoom and people see it on YouTube. So I'm deliberately trying to hold it so they know what you actually spoke with. That's the reason I sometimes wait, because I'm watching it on YouTube simultaneously.
Oh, okay.
So that there's no gap in what you're saying and what people are saying. So sorry about that, but I'll fix it.
Okay, so the diseases lie on a continuum. The disease begins, it's like we call it as S-curve. You see the center point, you are in the optimal health. A 2-year child, when he sits after weaning off mother's milk at 1 year, 1.5 years, whatever, and he starts eating what his parents are eating. He starts eating that boiled egg or fried egg with aloo paratha and a dahi ki lassi. His disease starts at that time. And maybe he's becoming, developing resistance to insulin, 1% per year. So by the time he is 40-year-old, he is 40% insulin resistant. But your body can produce more insulin, so body compensates for it. When it reaches a point where body cannot release any more insulin, you begin to observe that your sugar level is rising, what doctors call pre-diabetes, okay? And sugar level begins to rise slowly, but doctor says, okay, you are pre-diabetic, please watch out. Then you reach a point where it rises above 126. Now doctor says, you are no longer pre-diabetic, you are diabetic. And I have no choice, I have to prescribe you medication. If I don't prescribe you medication, and your fasting sugar was over 126, I can lose my license. Even if the doctor believes that he should not prescribe medicine, he cannot do that. There's a standard of care that he has to follow to keep his license alive. So he has to prescribe you metformin, and you start taking metformin, which is only trying to reduce your blood sugar level. It's doing nothing to increase your insulin sensitivity. So disease lies on a continuum, but we arbitrarily assign cutoff points. So no medication till fasting sugar of 125. After 125, we should give more medication. Similarly, for blood pressure, no medication below a cutoff point. So these cutoff points become very important. Who should decide what the cutoff point is? There are a lot of politics at play. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. There's a phenomena called J curve. So we know that if you take too much medication, it is harmful. And we know that if your symptoms are too high, if your blood sugar is too high, or blood pressure is too high, that is also harmful. So there is a balance somewhere where your life expectancy is the maximum. This is called a J curve. And the bottom of the J curve is where you want to be. Okay. So let's move to the next slide. I'll show you. So what happens is when you control your blood pressure too tightly or your blood sugar too tightly, your all-cause mortality goes up. So look at this curve. This research was done in 2009, 2010. The results were published in 2010. It shows that for diabetics, if you control your A1C too tightly meaning below 8. So there are two curves here. The left one is for people who take metformin and tablets. The right one is for people who take insulin. So if you're taking too much insulin, your A1C may be 6.3. If you look at the right chart, it is 6.3, and you may feel good. Oh, my insulin is 6.3. But if you draw a straight line, you will realize that it is as bad as 10.6. So maintaining an A1C of 6.3 is as bad as maintaining A1C of 10.6. So you shouldn't be doing that. Your ideal is somewhere along between 7.5 and 8 on the insulin chart. On the metformin chart, it is somewhere between 7.6 and 8.2. That is your sweet spot. So if you are diabetic and if you are taking medication, that is what you want to be maintaining. Anything tighter than that, you're increasing your risk of your death. Okay, so let's move on to the next chart. This is called J curve. An American College of Physicians revised their guidelines in 2018, March 6th, 2018. And they said that you must maintain A1C between 7 and 8. Now, if 8 is as good as 7, why would you maintain 7 by taking extra medication or extra insulin? So you should just maintain it at around 7.9 or 8. In one of the chart, even 8.2 is good. Now, nobody told their patients about this. This was published on March 6th. But none of your doctors would tell you that. Because when this was published, American College of Physicians is the second largest body of doctors. They are not necessarily diabetes doctors, okay? So they have less conflict of interest. And it was their recommendation because they found that too many people were dying. When we were controlling it to 6.3, 6.5, too many people were dying. They had to stop that study. They said it's unethical. They wanted to do the study for 5 years. They stopped it within 3 years, okay? But nobody will tell you, okay? So there's conflicting guidelines. When this guideline was printed, within a week, the endocrinologists, American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists, came up with their revised guideline, which says, let's move to the next chart. Okay, their revised guideline, the number 3 here, and they issued it just 7 days after the American College of Physicians, because they got so nervous that they were going to lose half of their income. They said the A1C should be maintained below 6.5. And they said, we do not agree with the American College of Physicians. Obviously, they would not agree. They want to lose the business. Half of their business will go away. Most of you people who are listening to this talk, please pay attention. You probably don't need to be taking that medication, okay? Because you are probably maintaining it at 6.5, 6.7, 7.3. You need to be maintaining at a higher level. Of course, you need to improve your dietary and lifestyle habits. That is important. But if you make that change today, then tomorrow you can reduce possibly medication. See where it is. I mean, do it gradually, but gradually, how gradually? I don't know. I don't have your information. Your goal is to maintain between 7.9 and 8. So and how will you know where it is unless you drop the medication for a couple of days and see where it is? Or get a Abbott Lab continuous glucose meter. It's a patch that you put on your arm. It gives you continuous reading, okay? So this was for And then in between, the doctors who follow ADA, they are American Diabetes Association, and they say it should be under 7. Most of you are probably being treated by somebody who follows ADA or somebody who follows AACE. So please pay attention to this. Let's move to the next slide. A few words about hypertension I'll do. This is a slide that shows you how your blood vessels get clogged. When you are plant-based, your blood vessels are clean. When you are meat eater, they get heavily plaqued. That's what causes heart attack and high blood pressure. And for vegetarians also, vegetarians get heart attack because they still are consuming dairy and they're consuming ghee and milk and cheese. So they're facing some of the similar problems as non-vegetarians. Now let's move to the next slide. So here are the guidelines for blood pressure patients. The guidelines were established by a joint national committee that was established in 1975. It was a committee of large number of people from all walks of life, from pharmaceutical industry, from medical colleges, from healthcare industry, from consumer advocates, some government officials. And that committee meets or used to meet once every 5-10 years. JNC met in 1997 and they came up with the guideline that optimal is 120/80. But if it is over 140/90, you are hypertensive. You are a patient. And in between these two, they said, just please watch out. Please control your diet. But no doctor told us, at least not in America, doctors don't tell us. When I went to my doctor 23 years ago for the first time, he said, Lalit, you have hypertension. And I was shocked. I thought that was old people's disease. And at the age of 59, I didn't think I was old. So, and then he said, no, don't worry. I'll give you a pill and that's fine. I mean, I asked him, what should I eat? What should I make changes? And he wasn't forthcoming at all. Maybe he didn't know himself. All they have to say is eat less and exercise more, which is totally wrong. You will eat as much as you feel like eating. If you eat the right food, as I'm talking, you can eat as much as you feel like. Your body is supposed to give you signals, hey, you have had enough. Try eating potato chips that you make at home. After you eat maybe 20, 30 chips, you will be saying, oh, I have had enough. I can't have it. Give me an apple or give me something, water or something. When you eat Pringles, chips made by the food industry, you can finish the whole box and you will still want to eat more. Because these foods are designed by PhDs in psychology. And they're hired with a single goal to circumvent your satiation mechanism so that you will keep eating more and more and more. Anyway, so JNC 7 met in 2004, and they said at 120/80, you are pre-hypertensive, so please start seeing your doctor every 6 months, watch out. JNC 8 in 2014, by 2014, many doctors and senior doctors were beginning to realize what I just told you as J curve. So there is a J curve for hypertension also. And they said that maintain your blood pressure if you are under 60 at 140/90. Take medicine only if it is over 140/90. And if you are over age 60, take medicine only if it is over 150/90. Okay. Now, I know many of you who are listening to my talk are under that range, and you've been taking BP medication. People come tell me, I've been doing it for 25 years. I've been on beta blocker. There are people, I have had people tell me that they were taking 7 medications. Okay. I have a gentleman here, and he comes and gives talk, Raj Shah. He was taking 7 medications just for BP alone. And within 2 months of going on my program, he was disease-free. Okay. he was off those medications. He was off to diabetic medications. So please go and Google JNC8 guidelines, do research. The thing is, there's a lot of politics at play. So when the JNC8 came with this guideline, all of a sudden there was a lot of lobbying among the pharmaceutical industry and the healthcare industry. And they said, we don't need this JNC anymore. I think we should let American Heart Association issue these guidelines. Okay, so as soon as the guideline tilted against their interest, they lobbied to abolish JNC8. JNC8 was abolished. When JNC8 was abolished, then American Heart Association issued their own guideline, and which goes back to 120/80. So you have conflicting guidelines again, just like diabetes. So learn about it. Empower yourself. That's what you need to do. Otherwise, you will always be, we look up to the doctors. We think doctor is God. Whatever doctor says, we do that. Don't do it. Please learn. Okay. So, and another problem with BP is that the readings they take are wrong. There are 19 specific criteria which need to be followed to get your correct reading. You go to a doctor's office, they make you sit on a high bench, your feet are hanging, a nurse comes, takes your blood pressure, okay? And while she's taking your blood pressure, she's talking. So how is your daughter, or how are the wedding preparations for your daughter? Nobody is supposed to talk to you for 5 minutes. Your feet should be resting on the floor flat, not on your toes. Like that, there are 19-point guidelines. I don't want to go into the detail. You are supposed to take 3 automatic readings 5 minutes apart and record the lowest reading, not the average of 3 readings. So in a recent study, which was done on November 2017, it was called Systolic BP Intervention Trial, the SPRINT. They found out from that trial that the proper measurement at doctors' offices was 12.7 millimeter. So their readings were 12.7 millimeter higher. They were in error by 12.7 millimeter. So number one, not only they're using a lower cutoff point, secondly, they are inflating your systolic blood pressure by 12.7 points. So if at doctor's office, your reading came, let us say, to 140, in all likelihood, your true reading is only 127. So please pay attention. I mean, that is why the hypertension patients who come to me, or diabetic patients, they get off medication very quickly, because not only their health improves within a week of going on plant-based whole food program, but also they begin to realize that they were taking wrong medications. I mean, they were following a wrong target. So these, I've only covered these 2 illnesses. We don't have time. Let's wrap it up, Rakesh. Okay, so concluding remarks, cause of all chronic diseases is diet and lifestyle. So when we change diet and lifestyle, diseases reverse. Yeah, as simple as that. It's a lot easier than you think. There are some low-hanging fruits. You're doing things which I'm telling you not to do, and you don't like doing them. You're doing things, thinking that you were doing it for your health. A lot of people tell me that I drink a glass of milk at 10:30 at night. My daughter insists. My daughter is a dietitian or a nutritionist or a doctor, and it's a blunder. You should not be consuming anything after 7 in the evening. So that milk, and in India, they take that milk with sugar. That's the cause of your diabetes. That's a blunder. Just stop it. You don't like it anyway, okay? Some people tell me, I know in North India, they put ghee on dal. So the dal is cooked and everything, and then they put ghee on top of it. I mean, I didn't like it. I mean, I like chokka part of it, the ghee, which is with onions fried, but but plain. I didn't like the smell of ghee. Okay, I mean most ghee you got was not very pure. This is so hey, stop it. If you don't like it, just don't eat it. It's as simple as that, because that's an improvement. And a lot of doctors here tell diabetic doctors, say, hey, don't have bananas and don't have mangoes and don't eat fruits. No, eat as many fruits as you want. Okay. So some of my batchmates thank me even now. Say, Lalit, I had not eaten mangoes for 8 years. And after you cured my diabetes, now I eat mangoes guilt-free. So these are, I call them low-hanging fruits. They are, that change you should make today itself. Okay. And it's important. Another thing is better safe than sorry. A lot of people think that taking a little bit of medication is being safe. A lot of people tell me, yeah, but I just take a tiny pill for blood pressure. Yeah, I have stopped. I have cut it down to half. I have cut it down to 1/4. Somehow they have got this attachment to the pill. They don't want to give it up, even though the BP they know is only 125 over 78 or 85. They just don't want to give up. That's the wrong thinking. It's okay if your BP is 135 over 85. Okay, so safety is in slightly higher symptoms. Not safety is not in the medication. I think with that I will end. I start a Facebook group every month. The next one is on January 22. Make My Health. You can, if you are interested, you can join that. And WhatsApp link. It got cut off here, but you can write to me, or Rakesh has an email. He will forward you links to join WhatsApp group that will start on 1st of January. And thank you very much.
Yes, Lalitji, thank you so much. So I've been chatting a lot with the people who are on the live YouTube, and I have assured everybody that we will give you a WhatsApp link. So I would recommend if you give me like 1 or 2 WhatsApp link for January, I'll include them as a part of our email message to everybody today.
Yeah, so you can use H dot. I'll send them to you. H dot
here
JAN apostrophe 22 dot LMK Health. Okay, so you can use H and I, those 2 groups, but I will send you for Telegram as we finish the talk. Telegram as well as Facebook link I'll send you. You can forward them through email. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. And I appreciate it very much. And also, this is our actually this is our second talk with my second talk with Lalitji, presenting him live. One was just for the New York, New Jersey group. And every talk that I listen, and Lalitji, I got to tell you something. I got up this morning, I heard your talk that you gave with Rishi in San Francisco, because that's an hour and 40-minute talk. But I listened to it again so that I can learn and be ready for what you're going to present today. So my suggestion to everybody who's present is please join WhatsApp group. This is, Lalitji has not charged a penny to anybody for any services that he's done. This is his life's mission. He feels that according to our Vedantic teachings, the more we give and make everybody better, like Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramya. He works in the spirit. I've been vegan for 20 years, but in last 1 year since I started following Lalitji, I had to say that my life has enriched and been better. So I'm grateful, Lalitji, for what you've done. Also, I am not a technologist. I used to be a technologist when DOS was around, not anymore. So any inconvenience that is caused by not communicating with you properly, my fault. I accept responsibility. Lalitji is not the person who has done any technology work, so please forgive me for that. I'm also exploring other platforms so we can have more seamless experience. We can schedule talks in a better way. You can send us email, let us know what things you would like to see, because we want to make this world a happier and healthier place. That's the mission of our plant-based wellness foundation, which Lalitji started a few months ago. Also, I'm involved with World Vegan Vision, which is a great organization in New York, New Jersey, very supportive of our initiative here. our president of New York and New Jersey, both are on this call today, along with so many eminent people from throughout the world that I got an email that I feel that the work we did was a reward in itself by having those good people like yourself join and stay with us so long. So thanks everyone again.
I want to add one more line, Rakesh, because there might be people who are listening to this in Florida and in India.
Yes.
I'm on a lecture tour of Florida from 8th of January to 17th. I'll be visiting all 6 major cities of Florida. So, and we will be giving live talks at all those 6 locations, Jacksonville, Tampa, Sarasota, Fort Myers, Miami, and Orlando. And then I'm on a lecture tour of India from during the month of February, and going to the 12 major cities. We have centers. So please look for announcements and reach out to Rakesh or myself if you need more information about that.
Right.
And thank you so much. Okay.
Right. Lalitji, what we would do is that the reason we had this registration process for the first time in your talks as opposed to just WhatsApp is that we want to communicate with people. They can unsubscribe anytime. We are not going to spam anybody. Our goal is not to bombard anybody with email. But if you can help just one person get rid of their medication and their life can get better, I think that I did my days a good deed for the day today. So with that spirit, thanks everybody. Thank you, Lalit, so much. I'm so immensely privileged to be learning from you. God bless. Thank you.